Greetings, Nelson here with another video. As always, these videos are for instructional purposes only. Use at your own risk. We'd like to thank our hardware sponsor CDI Computers today for the hardware for these presentations and live-medium-install tools development. Today what we want to do, this is our second video of the day. I want to demonstrate how to use the live-partial-squashfs-updates tool to generate firmware patches or firmware updates. We're going to open a terminal, adjust this width just a bit for us, and we're going to increase the font for our viewers. We've had some folks that said they had difficulty seeing, so we'll raise the font up there just a bit for them. In particular, there's not a dependency check yet in the live-partial-squashfs-updates. So the first thing I want to do is I want to become a root user. I want to make sure I've got that dependency met, so I'm going to do -git install squash -tools. Alright, and what we hit here is a little thing that when the image was made there must be an update. So let's app-get update. Get the latest lists. Basically lets the package request know what the latest version is that's available. So we've updated. Now let's go and request to install the squashfs tools. This will take just a second. Now this is just a little different than persistence. Persistence are things that survive reboots that are stored and stacked in. This is more of a firmware or a service pack type model, to where you have a stock image you want to start from and you want to make more permanent modifications for not just one install but many installs. The example I'm going to use today is if you try to run Vim, nothing's going to happen because Vim's not installed yet. And we're going to apply this on this XFCE live-medium-install setup on this notebook. We just did that video where we installed it right from the USB key. Now, let's get started here. The first thing you're going to see is that the block device here is mounted read-only where our medium is expected to be. So we're going to modify that. Okay. Due to the wonderful tool set of live-boot, 3x and forward, it by default will pick up correctly named files and stack them for you in the actual presentation layer of the operating system. So, first thing I'm going to do is remount that to where it's read-write. Have a little trouble typing there. Let's see if we get that. Now, if we type in mount again, notice that we've changed it to read-write. Okay? So we've got an area we can now write to. And the live folder is where we actually want to go. Oh, let me make an alias for myself real quick. Alright. And if you see, there's the core components, that the 3 core components and a bootloader you would need to actually convince something to boot. So, from here what we're going to do is we are going to go get the script we need. And squash this updates, and this is actually in live tools as well. We're going to flip the execution bit on, and we're going to give it a go here. So it's first run. Let's take one more peek here. Okay, so what we got here is we have the file system squashfs, the nitrd image, and the VM linuz file, and then there's our script. Now what the script is going to do is create a chroot environment for us, or it will actually combine partial squashfs's multiple service packs into a single service pack, or it will actually squash it all back together into the master file system squashfs. So there's some options depending on what you want. Today we're just going to make a small service pack to include Vim. Okay, so we're going to cut back in here, and we're going to run the script, and we're going to create a chroot. And if you make a mistake in here, do something, and you don't want to save your changes, you can just type in exit, and the chroot will ask you. By default, it doesn't want to save anything, and it cleans everything up. Okay. So again, we've still got our 4 scripts and nothing, or 4 files and nothing else in there. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to install Vim today. All right. And the script, sometimes you'll launch it, and then when you go to close it, it doesn't cleanly unmount everything. Not really for sure at the moment what or why is causing that, but in general it doesn't seem to be consistent for me to reproduce, so I'm not sure what that is. But we're going to recreate the stack. We're going to create a chroot. I'm going to do app-get update. This is really going to add a little bit of size to the squashfs file because of the different things that are being modified. And then I'm going to do app-get install Vim. And we're doing this again inside the chroot. So I'll give you an example of that here in just a second when this finishes. So imagine putting in whatever packages you want. One thing that I'm not sure at this point how to do is to send out things that need access to the X display. I'm using this mostly to create service packs, so I'm doing everything from the console. I'm injecting files that I've copied over or put on a web server for things that do require access to the GUI, and there are other ways to do that as well. 2 things I always do from here is I do app-get clean and history-c, just to erase my tracks a little. Type in exit, and I want to save this, so I'm going to do Y here for yes, save my chroot modifications. And there's our tiny little service pack, and we prompt for a small entry. Okay, now if you look at our files now, we have our file system squashfs, the initrd image, our script, and we have a PSU file with an ISO date on it and a timestamp, and it's a little squashfs file. And you can see the size right here, and then we got a little change log here as well. Okay, so there's our change log entry, and now again, if I type in Vim, there's nothing there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut the system down, bring it back up, and show you that Vim is now installed, because it is actually going to stack in this little squashfs file. So here we are, booting back up. One thing that is helpful is when I make modifications to or add service packs, I generally adjust and put a version number in the boot menu, which is located under that lib live mount medium boot ext linux, and then extlinux.conf. And now, ta-da, here we go. So, and we can here, let me make this again, the font just a bit bigger. And if you'll notice, the wonderful live boot 3x and above has put in our squashfs service pack. So that's a simple example today of how to use live-partial squashfs updates, and hope you've enjoyed the video. As always, perhaps watch another, and have a great day.